This April, the comic book universe is expanding with spectacular new tales and legendary comebacks. It's like a buffet table at a Jay and Silent Bob movie premiere. Only instead of munchies, we've got stories packed with more action than a blunt man and chronic adventure. We're talking about the return of some heavy hitters, folks, characters you thought were gone for good, and trust me, their comebacks are gonna be epic. But it ain't just about the old guard. This month also sees a whole new wave of heroes and villains hitting the shelves. We're talking fresh faces with fresh stories ready to carve out their own piece of the comic book universe. So buckle up, Buttercup, because we're about to dive headfirst into a month of four-color mayhem. Alright, you primitive screwheads, let's talk about comebacks. And I ain't talking about John Travolta in the 90s. I'm talking about the return of some of our favorite comic book icons. First up, we gotta give a shout out to the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. They've been shell-kicking their way through the pages for decades, and this month, they're hitting a major milestone with issue 150. This ain't just another issue, folks. This is the culmination of years of storytelling, the epic conclusion to a saga that's been unfolding since before Silent Bob learned to talk. We're talking about the kind of comic book event that'll have fanboys lining up around the block like it's the release of a new Star Wars flick. And it ain't just about the nostalgia, man. These classic characters are coming back with a vengeance, bringing fresh stories and perspectives to the table. It's like taking a classic muscle car, slapping on a fresh coat of paint, and souping up the engine. You're still getting that old school cool, but with a modern twist. We're talking about stories that'll resonate with longtime fans, while also introducing these iconic characters to a whole new generation of readers. It's like passing the torch, only the torch is a flaming katana wielded by a pizza-loving reptile. So yeah, get ready for a healthy dose of nostalgia, folks, because this month the classics are back and they ain't messing around. Alright, so we've talked about the old guard, the titans of the industry. But this month ain't just about the familiar faces. We've got a whole new wave of heroes and villains hitting the shelves, ready to make their mark on the comic book world. First up, we gotta talk about Ghost Machine. These guys are coming in hot with not one, not two, but three brand spanking new monthly titles. It's like they're the Wu-Tang Clan of comics, dropping a triple album out of nowhere and blowing everyone's minds. But don't think for a second that this is just some flash-in-the-pan gimmick. These books are packed with original characters, fresh storylines, and art that'll make your eyeballs melt. We're talking about the kind of high-octane, adrenaline-fueled action that'd make Michael Bay blush. But it ain't just about the explosions and the fight scenes, man. These new titles are exploring themes that are relevant to today's world, dealing with issues like social justice, climate change, and the dangers of unchecked technological advancement. It's like they're taking the classic superhero tropes and flipping them on their head, creating stories that are both entertaining and thought-provoking. And that's what's so exciting about these new characters, man. They're not just rehashing old ideas, they're bringing something new to the table, pushing the boundaries of the comic book medium and challenging readers to think about the world in a different way. So yeah, keep an eye out for these fresh faces, folks, because they're the future of comics and they're coming in with a bang. Hold on to your hats, kids, because this month we're talking about crossover events. And I ain't talking about your grandma's knitting circle. We're talking about the kind of epic clashes that'll shake the foundations of the comic book multiverse. Think Avengers Endgame, but with more spandex and less Thanos. One of the biggest events this month is Superman House of Brainiac. This ain't your average Superman story, folks. We're talking about a multi-dimensional showdown that'll pit the Man of Steel against some of his deadliest foes. Brainiac's back, and he ain't messing around. He's brought along a whole legion of intergalactic baddies, each one more ruthless than the last. This is the kind of story that'll have you glued to the edge of your seat, folks. We're talking about betrayals, double crosses, and enough twists and turns to make M. Night Shyamalan jealous. It's a story that'll test Superman's limits, forcing him to confront his past and make some tough choices. And this ain't just about Superman, man. This event is gonna have ripple effects across the entire DC universe. We're talking about guest appearances from some of your favorite heroes and villains, all caught in the crossfire of this cosmic clash. It's like a comic book version of those disaster movies where everyone's running around screaming, only instead of a giant meteor, it's a giant green-skinned alien with a god complex. So yeah, if you're looking for a story that's gonna blow your mind, check out Superman House of Brainiac. It's the kind of event that only comes along once in a blue moon, and it's gonna be epic. Alright, so we've talked about the stories, the characters, the epic clashes, but let's not forget about the unsung heroes of the comic book world, the artists and writers. These are the folks who bring these stories to life, who take our imaginations on a wild ride through panels and pages. This month, we gotta give a shout out to some of the amazing talent that's gracing the shelves. We're talking about artists like Jim Lee, whose dynamic style and attention to detail are second to none. This guy can draw anything from the intricate details of a superhero's costume to the sprawling landscapes of an alien world. And then there are writers like Grant Morrison, whose mind-bending stories and complex characters will leave you questioning everything you thought you knew about comics. This guy's a master storyteller, weaving intricate narratives that are both thought-provoking and entertaining. These artists and writers are the heart and soul of the comic book industry. They're the ones who push the boundaries of the medium, who experiment with new styles and techniques, who challenge us to see the world in a different way. And it ain't just about the big names, man. There are tons of talented up-and-coming artists and writers out there, folks who are just starting to make their mark on the industry. These are the folks who are gonna shape the future of comics, who are gonna bring fresh perspectives and new ideas to the table. So yeah, take a moment to appreciate the art and storytelling in your favorite comics, folks. These are the folks who make the magic happen, who transport us to other worlds and introduce us to characters we'll never forget. Well, there you have it, folks. April is shaping up to be one hell of a month for comic book fans. From the return of classic characters to the debut of fresh faces, there's something for everyone. So grab your long boxes, head down to your local comic shop, and get ready for a wild ride. Don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and ring that bell to stay updated on all things comics. See you in the next issue. Remember, in a world where everyone has superpowers, the real heroes are the ones who remember to take out the trash on Tuesdays.